As you can most definitely see from the title, today we will be talking about the Book of Boba Fett. First off, I want to make it completely clear that I do not think that the Book of Boba Fett is without its flaws. Objectively, it's a pretty flawed show. It's definitely far from perfect in every sense of the word perfect. But I enjoyed it a ton, and I know a lot of other people did as well. Boba Fett's been one of my favorite Star Wars characters for a long time. And the Book of Boba Fett was something that I was so hyped for. I definitely want to make it clear that this is just my opinion. And you, yes you, talking to you, have your own opinion, and you're entitled to that opinion. And my opinion's not better than your opinion, and your opinion isn't better than my opinion. Spoiler warning for the Book of Boba Fett and Star Wars in general, I suppose. Without further ado, let's start from the beginning. The year is 1978. 1 year prior, a little movie called Star Wars hit theaters. And it was nothing short of a colossal hit. So much so that it inspired a holiday special. In this holiday special, we see a particularly awesome looking character sporting some badass armor. That is the first appearance of Boba Fett. But that is not the last we see of him. Oh no. He was so cool that they threw him into a parade and also made an action figure of him, which made an ungodly amount of money. Jesus Christ, George, you better throw this guy into a movie. Empire Strikes Back. Boba Fett is in a movie. And his mysterious nature and his out-of-this-world design makes him undoubtedly a fan favorite. He's so cool. Surely he's going to play a huge role in Return of the Jedi. Nope, he died. Supposedly. And over the years, Boba's small amount of screen time has become a pretty iconic part of his character. Many people have clinged to him as a mysterious bounty hunter that we know very little about. And although it is very true that massive amounts of screen time have always evaded Boba, there is actually a very interesting oddity about him. Looking only at canon sources, we actually have gotten looks into Boba's life at multiple distinct stages. An aspect that is almost incomparable to any other Star Wars character. We got to see him as a child in 2002's Attack of the Clones. We got to watch him grow into his teenage years in the Clone Wars animated series. And finally, we got to see him as a full adult in the original trilogy. We've actually seen a lot more of Boba than many people remember. But for now, let's jump to some more recent times. 2020, our favorite maybe Mandalorian shows up to reclaim his armor. And it was breathtaking. And after a great post-credit scene and a year's worth of hype, the Book of Boba Fett released to critical acclaim. Not really. At this time, I'd like to go through some of the most common criticisms I've seen of the show and give you my thoughts. Dissect my brain on the subject. Give you a little window into my opinion. I think a lot of people found the first 4 episodes in particular to be kind of boring, and that's a very fair observation for sure. In these episodes, present-day Boba kind of takes a back seat, and a huge focus is put on flashbacks of Boba in the aftermath of Return of the Jedi. Personally, I'm really glad to have gotten to see these parts of Boba's journey, and even though the emphasis is put on these flashbacks, consistently brings us back to present day to set up the conflict with the Pikes as we simultaneously see the influence of the Pikes grow on Tatooine in the flashbacks. I'm sort of indifferent to it, but it is undoubtedly a very weird way of telling the story. The constant flashbacks can be a little jarring, give you a little bit of whiplash at some points. And between that and the fact that there's very little action scenes in these episodes, I really don't blame you if you felt bored during these episodes. But I can definitely see the Book of Boba Fett's shortcomings when it comes to the pacing and stitching together of these scenes. And I really don't blame you if that's what turned you off to the show. I will wholeheartedly agree with everybody when I say that these little shits weren't that great. They were vastly underdeveloped and did not add anything to the show, in my opinion. I actually believe that the tone of the show suffered from even having them in it. The Power Ranger ass vibes that these motherfuckers gave off just ruined the tone in every scene that they were in. I don't think these characters belong in the Book of Boba Fett the way they are. They just seem shoehorned in to me. But in slight defense of these garbage characters, I completely disagree with people that are saying that they don't fit in Star Wars. One of the best things about Star Wars is that anything can fit in Star Wars. Hell, the 1950s aesthetic is something that George Lucas liked a lot. Yes, they stick out like a sore thumb on Tatooine, but I think that's what these characters want. They seem to be around the same age as Luke in A New Hope. They're a lot like Luke, except they can't just up and leave like Luke did. They've probably got some grand ambitions, but they are stuck on a shit planet. So as a way to rebel against that, they pour all their money into their cybernetics and their little motorbikes. I believe that they totally could work as Star Wars characters. They just don't work in the Book of Boba Fett. Episodes 5 and 6, as you know, aren't really episodes of the Book of Boba Fett. I mean, we literally saw Boba one goddamn time in the span of both episodes. Instead, we got what a lot of people are referring to as Mandalorian Season 2.5. That's because in these 2 episodes, we follow our boy Din Djarin in a completely detached plot from Boba's story. These 2 episodes are quite literally a direct follow-up to the Mandalorian Season 2 finale. And it's really bittersweet, I'd say. It's no doubt tragic that after all these years, Boba's show is hijacked for almost 30% of the runtime. But I'm going to say this. I enjoyed these episodes. And I really enjoyed seeing characters like Din, Grogu, Luke, Ahsoka, Cobb Vanth, and the man who stole the show, Cad Bane. I loved seeing these characters again because simply I love these characters. The finale was pretty good, at least in my opinion. I think a lot of criticisms of it kind of lean to the side of just nitpicking. A very, very densely packed episode for sure. Not a lot of time was devoted to any one thing, and that kind of sucked. Nonetheless, I enjoyed it a ton. Probably the most memed on part of the entire episode was this guy doing his little spin. It definitely stands out and looks really goofy. But this is Star Wars, and that happens. You'd be lying through your goddamn teeth if you denied the existence of unnecessary spins in Star Wars. Now, as you probably noticed, I sort of danced around what is probably the biggest point of contention in this show. Boba Fett himself and his characterization became a hot topic as the Book of Boba Fett aired. Many people came out of the woodwork and claimed that he was a completely different character, mostly stated in a direct comparison to his appearances in the original trilogy. They said that he had gone soft. They said he was no longer the mysterious, quiet, gutless, cold-hearted bounty hunter that they remember. But at least in my humble opinion, that was never Boba. Sure, he was definitely some of those things. Mysterious? Sure. Quiet? I suppose. A good bounty hunter? The best bounty hunter. But is there really that much more we can say about him for sure from just looking at his original trilogy appearances? Although many people say that Boba Fett's switch to valuing respect and loyalty was very uncharacteristic of him, I personally argue that those values were with him all along. Boba was raised an unaltered clone by his donor and father figure Jango Fett. Jango was a legendary bounty hunter and undoubtedly the biggest influence on Boba. Many may disagree with this, but I don't believe Jango was a morally bad person by any means. His profession required him to be ruthless, but he cared for his son, and if we believe the words of Hondo Ohnaka,
he was a friend and an honorable man.
Jango was a good person, at least in comparison to some of the other people in Boba's life. The first time we canonically see Boba after the death of his father is in an arc in the Clone Wars animated show. In this arc, Boba is working with a bounty hunter by the name of Aurra Sing in order to get his revenge on the man that murdered his father, Mace Windu. Throughout these episodes, we are shown undeniable evidence of Boba having a moral compass. When he is told by Aurra to execute a hostage, Boba cannot bring himself to do it. And it is also worth noting at the end of the arc, when push comes to shove, Aurra Sing abandons Boba to save her own skin, and her lack of loyalty leaves him visibly broken. Fast forward to the Book of Boba Fett. We see him disgusted by the killing of innocent lives and now offering Fennec something unheard of among bounty hunters: loyalty. It's the same Boba. Not to mention, I think Boba's character development since Return of the Jedi makes perfect sense. Think about it. He was once the greatest bounty hunter in the galaxy, and all that got him was deep into the digestive tract of a man-eating whole. And after his time with the Tusken Raiders, his new goal is to be an iron-fisted yet respected crime lord and protector of Tatooine. It makes perfect sense that he wants something more substantial. He wants his legacy to be something more. And that brings us to Cad Bane. I consider many people's cold-blooded killer perception of Boba Fett to be more in line with what Cad Bane is shown to be. I think their reputations are nearly identical, yet I do not think they are the same. Far from it. I think we see the line drawn in the sand in the infamous unfinished Clone Wars scene where they duel, the very origin of the dent in Boba Fett's helmet and that big-ass metal plate in Cad Bane's head. Just before the duel, Boba says this.
No more innocent people are going to die. All be locked up, all live in fear.
Even then, Boba wasn't willing to sink to certain levels. He wasn't willing to sink to Cad Bane's level. And I think in the Book of Boba Fett, Boba is striving to leave behind a legacy better than that. A legacy that more closely represents the person he is and the value he has. He doesn't want to just be another Cad Bane. That's why I find Cad Bane's involvement in the show to be almost poetic. In the final showdown between these two of the most legendary bounty hunters in all of Star Wars, Cad Bane proves faster than Boba even in his old age. But Boba shows that he doesn't have to beat Cad Bane in his own game. He just has to beat him one way or another, and that he does. I believe that Boba Fett killing Cad Bane symbolizes him truly turning a new chapter in his life, a chapter free of bounty hunting and moral grayness, a chapter where he can finally be seen as the good guy. I'd like to end this video with a little bit of a story. Back in the good old year of 2015, when The Force Awakens hit theaters, I was so hyped for the potential of this new Star Wars trilogy. Everybody was. Everybody was so hyped. And can you guess what my number one request was? I wanted the return of Boba Fett. I want him to show up in the sequels, join the Resistance, help the gang find Luke Skywalker, and help vanquish the First Order once and for all. That never happened, probably for the best. It only took another half decade for my wish to come true, but it was well worth the wait in my opinion. I've been a big Boba Fett fan for a long, long time. And I never thought of him as a bad guy. I never thought of him as a villain. Rather just a simple man trying to make his way in a complicated galaxy. A force to be reckoned with, for sure, but he wasn't without his morals. And the Book of Boba Fett gave me that in all its glory. And if the price of getting the Boba Fett I've always wanted is a few upset fans, well, that seems like a good deal to me. Thank you so much for watching this video. As you could probably tell, I was so excited to talk about this show. I put a lot of work into this video and I really, really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did like it, feel free to drop a like and maybe subscribe. And definitely leave your opinions on the Book of Boba Fett in the comments. Whether you agreed with me and enjoyed the show, or if you didn't like it at all. I'd love to see your guys' opinions and takes on the show as well. I hope you have an amazing day, and I hope I see you in the next one.
I want some cheeseburgers just to eat. I'm talking ketchup, my nigga mustard on the beat. You gotta put a lot of lettuce, please, because I like to have a lot of grease. I remember eating outside with my whole team. Now a nigga gotta stay home cause of quarantine.
I can bring you in based, or I can bring you in cringe.